Well, as social networking continues to evolve, we're starting to see new methods for companies targeting specific consumer groups with more of a data-driven and a measured approach. Using social media platforms effectively can benefit a company's bottom line if they have the right approach. If being the key word, of course. Michael Gorman works for Acxiom. He used to be the CFO of ESPN. He's currently visiting Australia to talk about the impact of social content on e-commerce. And Michael, welcome you to the studio here this morning. Thank you very much. In broad terms, I guess Acxiom helps businesses communicate with their customers and their key target groups. What exactly does Acxiom do, though?
Well, we help them to engage their customers in a variety of channels. So email, websites, mobile, etc. We help them to establish relationships and then we run technologies and services. So how do those emails get there? We're the ones helping to determine that and then deliver it.
And you're finding quite an emphasis you're trying to encourage businesses to emphasise the social media aspect, but you're also finding businesses responding a lot to that now.
These days, they don't need any encouragement. Social media is the most exciting thing, and it's an area where our clients are devoting a lot more budget and are racing to try to have a social media strategy and to drive business results through social media.
Yet so many businesses so slow to adopt this new social media, and we say new, but it's not even new to consumers. We've been doing it for years. Why have they not been able to put their hands around it and grasp it?
I think social media has snuck up on us a little bit. It's really taken off in the last couple of years. We're seeing Facebook now has 400 million unique visitors every month, and that's doubling every 7 months. So if you think about it, 14 months ago they were 1/4 the size they are today, and in the world today, we think about 15% of all the time that people are spending online is spent on social sites, and it's growing. So this is as the audience has moved there, companies have realized they have to go there. And secondly, they've realized the importance of it. Because social media is a place where people are talking with each other about what they care about, they're talking about products. And we're finding that social media is becoming a primary driver of how people make product decisions. It's so easy to find out what other people think that that's where they go first. In fact, a lot of our customers are seeing more traffic coming from Facebook than they are from Google, which 2 years ago would have been unthinkable.
How powerful has social media become in terms of, is it rewriting marketing as people used to know it? I mean, it's very different when you've got so much of the consumer actually driving what's thought about the company. It's not that message which is put out there which people kind of let them sink in, you know. People are driving that.
Absolutely. It's the big change for companies is that they have to learn to interact with people in a new way. Some things about social media are familiar. They can buy ads. If they have a relationship, they can send a message. But the main thing that's going on in social media are conversations. And some companies need to learn how to engage in a conversation, and they need help to do that in a way that's affordable when they're doing it hundreds of thousands of times a day.
The way a lot of social media is developed, though, people want to be on there not bothered by companies. They don't want advertising on the sites, and obviously some sites have struggled with that themselves. They want this space clear for them and their friends. How do businesses become involved in something like Facebook or MySpace, for example, but not overstay the welcome, not be in people's way?
I think they really have to understand that this is a medium where people are spending time together and enjoying themselves and sharing things. And so they need to participate in that way. So it's about sharing their values and showing giving people a way to connect with them that's much more personal. So, for example, a lot of people are looking at taking their philanthropic activities and letting their customers decide who they should give away their money to. Or they're taking the fact that they do a lot of promotions of local events, and they're helping people know what events are coming up in their area. So it's not just, so when they come around the next day and share something about how they can get $2 off if they come into the store in the next 24 hours, it doesn't feel just like promotion. It's more like a friend who's sharing something valuable.
What about the new methods that you're discussing with businesses to try and measure the impact, but also use the data that you've got that's there on Facebook and MySpace and social media networks and actually be targeting messages better?
Yeah, the great thing about social media from a business perspective is it takes something that used to be invisible, word of mouth, and brings it and makes it visible. So we can help people to see overall what conversations are happening, and we can also help them discover which of their customers are on which social networks. We get a sense of the of where they should be focusing and who they should, and which of them are the most active, so that they can try to generate relationships with those who are going to be most influential. And we can also help measure, in the same way that any internet content is measured, how many people respond and what do they do with it. Do they share it? How many share it? So that in the aftermath of each activity, a company can know, well, let's see, I spent this much to get that campaign out there, and I made 2 times my money, so I'm happy about it.
You say you're monitoring something like 40 different social media sites.
Yes.
How are you practically finding on 40 different sites companies are being talked about? Have you keyword search engines? Or
one of the most common ways is looking at the words that people use.
Okay.
And so clearly people...
So you set up a database,
you start out with your brand. You're able to, if you're Coca-Cola, you can see every time people are talking about Coca-Cola. Right. But the other thing that you can do is you can look at, for my customers, what are they affiliating with? Okay. So they might join with, they might join a site that promotes a particular musical band or something like that, and do it in a way that's public. So you can get a sort of a fingerprint of your customers. What music do they like? Where do they live? What do they care about? What are they reading? And use that as a clue for what you ought to be sharing about as a company.
And consumers, I mean, there's obviously privacy concerns in some ways. When I'm listening to that, I think, gosh, people are monitoring what I'm saying. You know, we know it's out there, but in such a measured way, it's being
absolutely. But it's really important to do this in a way that is totally compliant with all rules and regulations and contracts, and also that's very sensitive to the concerns that people have. And that's one of the things that we do, is to advise companies around the privacy rules and regulations, and look at the best practices that have emerged in terms of determining how best to position themselves online.
Do you find that those privacy regulations are actually quite clear in the various social media sites? Because often they do change, and you know, if you're on Facebook, you know, they'll just change the privacy settings suddenly, and you've got to kind of refix yours. And how clear is that to businesses?
Well, I think actually a lot of the things that Facebook has done have been to make it easier for people to tell what it is that they're doing is public and what is private.
Yes.
And one of the things that we do is encourage all of our clients to only use information which people have marked as public. Yes. And we make sure that any information that we collect in that way has been so marked by people. Okay. And so that's that kind of care at every step in the way to make sure that companies are not doing something they would end up regretting, or accepting data that didn't come from a truly public source. Michael Gorman, great to speak to you while you're visiting Australia. Thank you very much.
It's great to be here. Thank you. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.